stories told. Let your journey now begin. In the magic, let's dive in. So tell me, what do the cards reveal? What's the truth they conceal? She's the high priestess with the key to every question that's haunting me. A lover's heart or a warning from the past. In the terror's embrace, I'm spellbound at last. Truth's come undone, it's a dance we must face. In the chaos, I find my place. In the tarot's embrace, I'm spellbound at last. Truth's come undone, it's a dance we must face. In the chaos, I find my place. The moonlight glows, the veil is thin. Lunar affinity will call again. Thanks for walking in the light, where guides whisper pure insight. Until we meet, the cards will wait. Mystic whispers guide your fate. With every message our spirits send, for cosmic dreams our souls transcend.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Hope you guys are having a good night. All right, let's start this with Sophie. All right, Sophie. Sophie, I think what I'm getting is that it's still going to take some time. I have the 7 of Swords. And then I also have the 8 of Pentacles, which means that there's still like more work or research to do. I'm kind of getting like the feeling that your dog might be or soon to be in the possession of someone else. So it might just take a little bit more work to figure out where your dog is. So that's kind of the message that I'm getting. Please make sure if you're dropping a question below, you are liking the live stream. All likes have been accounted for the people that were already in here asking questions. So if you're just joining us, make sure that you are getting your likes in soon, please. This is for Margaret. Yes, Page of Cups. Michaela. I'm getting a no, girl. I have the 10 of Wands and the Moon. I hope I'm wrong. Yes, Queen of Swords, Amy. Yes, Wheel of Fortune, Daisha. One second, please. Sienna, sorry, your card fell on the floor and I had to grab it. I am getting a yes for you, the Lovers. Aisha. If your question is, did he like it? I am getting a yes. 6 of Wands. Joanna. No, 3 of Swords. This is for Nessa. Yes, Queen of Cups. You're welcome, Margaret. You're welcome, Daisha and Diana. This is for Abe. Abe, yes, 7 of Pentacles, but that is the card of needing patience. So this is kind of like an energy that's building to reach out to you. So if for whatever reason you're not hearing from him over the next 7 days, come back and ask that question again because the energy may have shifted or it might just take a little bit longer because the 7 of Pentacles has to do with like things taking time, but it is a positive card in general, so that's why I'm saying yes. You're welcome. All right, this is for Sathi. You're welcome, Abe. I am getting a yes, 10 of Pentacles. 1 more minute left on the free questions, and then we'll be moving on to donations after that. You're welcome. Is that what you were trying to get? All right, guys, we're going to move on to donations. Amy, I've got you down for a channeled message. You're welcome, Sophie. Okay, I can do that. How you feeling, Amy? You doing okay? Trying your best. Feeling down mentally and emotionally as of late, but luckily you had your therapy appointment. Good. Do you like your therapist? You said that you're going to speak with the medication provider, see if you can increase dosage or change meds here and there. Yeah, that's the thing about those kinds of meds is that they have to be titrated like specifically, and sometimes it's trial and error. And even when you find a dosage or a combination that works really well for you, that can change over time. It's like really hard to find something, if it's even possible, that will last you years and years and years perfectly without any kind of adjustments needed. So it's good that you're staying on top of that. So it was your second session with your therapist. You're considering genetic testing to see what meds suit you best. Interesting. I didn't know that you could get genetic testing for something like that. That's cool. I didn't know either till my therapist told me. Yeah, that's really cool. That's nice because I can see sooner what medication will actually work. Yes, that is really cool. I've never heard that before. Thank you for asking, Luna. How have you been? Doing all right too. I am. Yes, I am. Life happens. You have life stuff, things that stress you out, family things, and all of that. You know, that can come up and whatever, but nothing like still lots of blessings, still lots to be grateful for. Life's just lifing, but overall, everything's good. We are just happy and spending a lot of time with my new niece has been a lot of fun. We did some like newborn photo shoots with her, and I'm probably going to go back over tomorrow to finish what we couldn't do because she was very, very awake that day and she wanted to be held instead of have pictures taken of her. So we had to kind of cut that session short. Seeing my nephew a lot more, which has been a lot of fun. Um, haven't been able to spend a lot of time with my husband these days just because we've been so busy and just like running around like crazy. And if we are spending time together, it's not like quality time, it's just physical time, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's good too. Family's doing good. On Sunday, we had like a family get together and ate tacos. They made tacos and we had chips and salsa. Like it just was really good. We've seen a lot of my husband's family recently, which has been nice. I went to dinner with them last night. My husband was working, but we all went out and it was a really good dinner. Yeah, I mean, just like life, life stuff. Nothing crazy. Yeah, we're doing good over here. State fairs are a lot of fun. They really are. Ours will come in September. Usually that's when they show up, which is nice because sometimes it's a little cooler during that time. Yeah, tacos are good. They did like it was basically like taco toppings. So like you could do tacos, burritos, taco salad, hard shell. Like I mean, you could literally have made whatever you wanted with it. So that was pretty cool. Yes, it's been extremely hot. Yeah, it's bad. That's why I like when it's in September because while it may still be hot, it's like you still have longer days. The time change hasn't happened. And generally, um, it's a little cooler. However, we do run into a lot of issues with the state fair where it's raining. That's like because it's still kind of like hurricane season. So it's a little frustrating because they only come for like 4 or 5 days. And sometimes the only day you can make work, it's like raining. So that's like the only downside. But honestly, I think I'd rather a rain cool everything down and then go, or go just before it rains because usually it feels really good than be in sweaty 95-degree weather. That would be miserable to me. Oh my God, it flooded it. That is horrible. It's funny, but at the same time, I was like, people are just splashing in the puddles. I mean, look, you got to make the best of it if you can, but that is crazy. Oh no. Ooh, that would be awful, in my opinion. Oh my gosh. Funnel cake is so good. And you know what? I go every year I go and I'm like, I'm gonna get a funnel cake. And then I never end up doing it because I end up eating like other food and then maybe like grabbing an ice cream or something. And like somehow it just like never fails. It's like out of the last probably 4 years I've gone, I only got one time, but they really are so good. Yeah, my husband loves the turkey legs. He just never finishes them, and it's such a waste. It's addicting for sure. Almost done, Amy. All right, girl, I am done. I'm gonna get this sent over to you. Trying to get my husband to convince my husband to take the leftover turkey leg home and put it in a salad. I might as well just throw that shit away. That's not gonna happen. Oh. What I need to do is to convince him to get the turkey leg before we leave, like shortly before we leave. Because if I can do that, then we can wrap it up and get it home. But what ends up happening is that he will get it like earlier in the day, and I'm weird about meat that's just been like sitting out, you know? So it would have to be one of those things where if we take it home, it's like more of like the end of the night. Hey, I speak. Welcome in. How are you? Yeah, Amy, exactly. That's what I'd have to convince him to do, I feel. Oh, that's smart. Yeah, we don't take a backpack. I have a backpack purse that maybe I should consider switching and swapping out to. That's smart. I didn't even think about that. All right, Amy. So he says, I want to be really clear and respectful with you. While there was a bit, while there was a brief moment of flirtation with us in the past, I want to be honest saying that nothing deeper ended up developing for me. And I know that's confusing, but it somehow just turned into a more friends vibe for me. It could be because I was already having something going with someone else. I don't know, but that's just what ended up happening. I don't hate you. I hope you don't hate me. I guess I just didn't see it moving in a romantic direction. I pulled back as to not cause further confusion, but I hope things are cool between us. This change in my demeanor is not out of coldness. I'm just trying to be more intentional and mindful of where I put my energy. So I feel like he just wants you to know, like, no regrets, you know? What happened happened. Um, maybe maybe if he wasn't already kind of, moving forward in another direction, maybe things would have been different. But I feel like he's at peace. Like I feel like he wants you to know like I'm at peace with what happened. Um, and I think more than anything, he's like, I just want you to know, like, we're cool. I think that might be why he keeps like watching your stories and stuff like that because at the same time he doesn't hate you, and I think that he's worried too that like he did something wrong to offend you or upset you, and I feel like he's a little worried about that because he is like, I might be a lot of things and maybe I have a lot of growing up to do is what I feel like I hear him saying. I might have a lot of growing up to do, but the last thing that I want is to hurt someone. The last thing that I want is to hurt you and put you in a compromising situation for you to end up like feeling bad about yourself or bad about me or bad about what happened, like I think he's chalking this experience up to such as life, and again, like no regrets at all. Um, but at the same time, as like his main concern is, are we okay? Like, are you okay with me? And I feel like he's almost in a like weird little sense, like checking in on you too. So, like, when he watches your stories and stuff, it's not necessarily because he's like longing for a connection, but I think that he's just paying attention to what it is that you're posting. And just making sure from like the sidelines, watching from the sidelines, like, are you okay? What are you up to? That kind of thing. And like just to kind of say, I don't know if he has any kind of indication of like your health history or anything like that. But if he does have any kind of information about that, or if one of your friends may have briefly touched on that topic, this could be why I'm feeling like this over concern for you too. Because I feel like he did not want to rock the boat. I feel like he's not trying to hurt you in any capacity. He's just saying like, I'm young, I want to live my life, and I'm sorry if I caused damage along the way. And I hope that you don't hate me, like that's his energy. That's kind of what I'm picking up. Exactly. I know. And I think he knows that too, Amy, to be honest. Whiplash is a really good way to word that. Um just because it felt like a mind F, you know? Like it kind of felt like he just kind of came in and came out and just like wasn't really caring about how his actions were making you feel, you know? You thought something was going to happen and then it didn't. But at the same time, Amy, I think that maybe because of what's going on with you, you might have gotten a little overly attached a little quick. And before he could figure out where this was going, before he could figure out what it is he wanted, it was like your feelings were developing throughout that process for him. And I think maybe he felt like you felt stronger for him than what he deserved. And then I think things got a little confusing, to be honest. So it's definitely a complicated situation for sure. And I am sorry that he did that. I know that you're kind of pissed about that too. And I think that's maybe why he's like, I hope she doesn't hate me, because he's over here saying, like, I know I'm young and stupid, but like, I don't want to I don't want to hurt someone. But it's almost like I think he was getting a little overwhelmed by your advances, and maybe he didn't know what to do with it. So he kind of, instead of holding himself accountable and telling your friend, like, this was on me, this was partly my fault, that kind of thing, it might have just been easier to just blame you for that, even though that's not fair to you. And so there is some regretfulness in terms of that, I think. I think that you both contributed to this, in your own ways. You contributed towards that gray area of confusion. And then also, like you said, him painting you in a bad light, telling his side of things, which was, I feel almost like it got blown a little bit out of proportion, if I can be honest. Um, Especially because that's not exactly how things went down, but I feel like he just felt so backed up in a corner and he didn't know what to do, that he ended up blaming you as he was talking to her instead of owning up to his part in this. But I think that also is a factor of his age, if I can be really just blunt about that. That's always concerned me for you. The Knight of Swords is here, and that's like just the energy of just rushing in, act first, think later. He did not have his wits about him for the majority of this whole thing. Yeah, I understand, Amy. It's fair, Like, it's fair to feel how you feel. Honestly, I agree, Amy, because you communicated to him something to the effect of you apologize for like your part in it all, and maybe you were hoping for some kind of reciprocation, but it was almost like he was like accepting your blame, like he was like accepting that, and instead of saying, hey, no, like, I had a part in this too, I could have been more clear, or just anything he could have said. Instead he just kind of pulled back. But at the same time, I want to be clear, that is a natural thing for a young man to do. the kind of response you were looking for from him is someone who is mature and like grown up and developed. And unfortunately, you weren't dealing with someone who has had that kind of experience yet. Maybe if he was 30, maybe if he was like 28, 29, he might have had a little more accountability. And so I think sometimes maybe you're expecting a little too much from him too, if that's the case, because that's not going to happen. I think you just have to be proud of yourself in the way that you handled and conducted your own self and your own actions, and be proud of that. Yeah, I want things to be okay for you guys too. Obviously, like I want you guys to just be able to kind of fuse back into just like an acquaintanceship, if that at all, if friends can't happen, and like I want you to kind of be able to find your way back into that social circle. But at the same time, always remember what's meant for you won't leave you. So if you're meant to go down that path and reconnect with that super circle of friends in that social setting, then that's what's going to happen if it's meant for you and your highest good. It's true, Amy. It's true. Yeah. If you that's the thing about history, is like if you have history established with someone, of course, like that's the side you're going to pick. Even if you know better, sometimes it's just easier to go with what you know. I think, Amy, you will feel a lot better about this too once you can get yourself more regulated, because while the emotions are still there, they might be more intense and they might be more heightened throughout this process of you figuring out the right like recommendations for you, if that makes sense. I know, like, I feel things more intensely, for example, with hormonal changes. Like, I feel things more intensely. And it's like, those are still my feelings. Okay. But the way that I react to those feelings might be different if my emotions are heightened or more intense. So, I want you to know your feelings are there, they always will be there, but maybe it could be harder for you to process because of your other things you have going on. Yeah, Amy, that's true. Focus on the relationships that you still have access to. She may just need that more experiences with you to like kind of understand where you're coming from. I just feel like history is always going to trump any other thing. If you have like an established connection with someone, it's like always going to trump a new connection. And I think that's why, like, if, well, I'll say 9 times out of 10, because I think that's why when people have like situationships from the past that they're not really over, but someone new comes in that's offering them everything in the world, and the person from the past comes back because there's history there, sometimes it's harder to choose that new person. Even if that new person is everything they've been looking for, everything they've been asking for, showing up in the ways that they should, and things like that. It's like history trumps it. And, you have to be a really strong person to see that maybe the past isn't always better. And, you know, I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Yeah, Amy, and that's a good way to be for sure. I think that's a sign of, can I be honest? That's a sign of maturity. Like just saying I don't care what we've been through. Like if you're a good person, you're a good person. If I just met you and we're cool, we're cool. If you do something shitty and I've known you for 5 years, I'm not going to let you get away with it. And if I know you for 1 minute and you do something shitty, I'm not going to let you get away with it. I think that's a sign of maturity. And it's sad that other people don't feel or think that way. But there are people out there that do, Amy. And then maybe if Crystal doesn't come around, then maybe you're just supposed to find more people that are more aligned in your way of thinking, because we can't control other people either as much as we may want to. Yeah, I understand, Amy, and I think you should keep those people close. And we'll see what happens with Crystal. Ashika, hi, welcome in. How are you? They are like that. Oh, I didn't realize how young Crystal was. Yeah. Yeah, and then that's the other thing too is that, age doesn't necessarily equate to maturity, but experience does in more times than not. The older you are, because you have more experiences, you are going to be more mature. And if you're hanging around people that are younger, that aren't encouraging you to grow and change and evolve, then you're going to stay kind of stuck, you know? You are who you surround yourself with. Oh my God, yes, we literally said the same exact thing. I just read what you said. Exactly. You're welcome, Amy. It was good talking to you. Of course, of course. That's what I'm here for, friend. I speak looks like she's supporting you in the background as well. Lorraine, how are you feeling? I will say, guys, I am like super tired today. I slept from like 4:30 a.m. to 5 or sorry, 4:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's a lot of hours. That's like 10 hours. And then I also took a nap tonight. And I probably could take another nap. Like I can't seem to get ahead of my sleep. But things have been very eventful the last couple of days, so that's partly probably why. Oh, you have a question too? Okay, sure. Let's see. A mini reading. I got you, girl. What do you want to know? You don't, you're saying I don't want to know how you're doing. Honestly, you don't want to know, but I'm hanging and got a part-time job. Congratulations on your part-time job, girl. Grateful. I have an interview for a full-time job tomorrow. Yay! Well, those are good things. I'm doing good. Yeah, just hanging in there, living life, you know. I was telling Amy earlier that I've been seeing a lot of family this last couple of weeks, which has been really nice. Despite everything that's been going on, for those reasons that we're getting together, seeing family is always a good thing for me. Um, and I don't know if oh no, I did tell you that my niece was born a couple weeks ago. She's a little over 2 weeks old, which I just cannot believe that literally at all, how fast that's gone by. Um, and we've had a lot of events and things like that we've had to go to, birthday parties, baby showers, get-togethers, all that. Went to dinner with my husband's family last night. He wasn't there, he was at work, but that was fun. And of course, like they're just the best people ever. So, but yeah, just spending time together. All right, Amy, so you say, so even with all the BS I've been going through, I wanted to ask a mini regarding career. I want to know what should I do career-wise to increase my finances and income? Oh, that's a good question. Thank you, I speak. I feel I've been stuck career-wise, and I deadass just want to be able to make more money in a way that suits me because I've noticed I struggle to make money the traditional way like normal people, if that makes sense. It does. Yeah, it does make sense. Um, all right, let me get my life purpose deck and then grab a tarot deck too. Hold on. I speak good luck on your interview. I really hope it works out for you, friend. Would you be willing to go back to school by chance? Um, I feel like the reason that what I'm hearing is like your mental health is for a reason. Like the things that you go through um okay, the reason that you go through the things that you do, the challenges that you have faced is specifically because you're supposed to help other people as well with their mental health or some type of counseling. Um I think that you're welcome. I think that I still feel a connection with you and children. Um, so this may not be adults that you're helping unless it's speaking to you, but I feel like you're gonna I don't know what I'm trying to say. I feel almost like I want you to get certification so that way you can potentially have your own practice um or have some kind of certifications that even if you don't go like the medical route, you could potentially start your own business with these certifications to help other people. So it could be just like a platform of sharing your journey and being able to help guide other people and making money in that way. Or if you're like, no, the medical route sounds really cool, but I feel like there's almost like this innovative and creative way that you are helping people. So, for example, speech therapy is coming to mind. Kids who have a hard time speaking. Okay. This is just an example, but if it speaks to you, take it. Literally, no pun intended. But these people are just they're so gifted. They think outside of the box to help people. It's like basically Spirit saying think outside of the box. They think outside of the box to make things fun and interesting for the kids that they are helping. They might use art, or they might use toys, or they might use sounds. They might use songs. It's like they have very creative ways to outside of the box to help other people. So I feel like that's kind of the energy I want you to tap into is like creation or creative ways to maybe brighten someone's day, help someone out, help other people. But there's something that has to do with like your healing with your words and your advice and your empathetic ear and like I mean, and that can be even like a bartender. I'm not saying you're going to be a bartender, but I'm saying like you think about the connection that a bartender has with their patrons or a hairdresser has with their clients. Okay. It doesn't have to necessarily be certifications, but I think that would be really cool for you. And I think I'm hearing certification specifically because you're wanting to make more money. And I think that with those certifications, you will have basically the knowledge and the ability to say, hey, I have a degree in this, or I have um a bachelor's in this or a master's or whatever, and I'm able to really utilize that to kind of leverage myself to make more of an income. But if for whatever reason that's not for you and you want to focus more on what makes you happy, what's fun for you, and something that's not a quote unquote traditional job or career, you could go a different route with this. But the essence of the reading is that you're thinking outside of the box to be creative, to help other people. Okay. Does that make sense? He said, you're wondering about creative endeavors like your art. Yes, that's why art did come through. I got the artist card for you, and that's kind of where my example came from when I was talking about speech therapy or music, when I was telling you about like people who use art. They basically do things to make interesting and entertaining sessions with their kids to help them be a better speaker and sound words out and things like that. I was just using that as an example. But you did get the artist card, and that's why I was talking about being creative and speaking outside of the box. Engaging in artistic activities beneficial for your career, in other areas of life. So I'm hearing licensing or certifications to make more money. Okay. But I am also hearing just do something kind of out of the ordinary to help other people. I think you focus mostly on children. I've got to say, there's a reason for that. But I also feel like there's a mental health aspect or quality to this career as well. So, for example, how do we combine all of these things? Okay. Let's say you want to have your own bakery cafe that incorporates the artistic creative side. That is a way for you to maybe leverage and make your own money. That does require licensing and certifications, and maybe going back to school potentially to learn, or extra classes or courses. Okay, so that all makes sense. But what's the mental health element? What's the making people happy element? What's the your experience being something that you could do to help others? Well, maybe you can, instead of doing the basic happy birthdays and happy anniversaries or something, you could incorporate mental health cookies, like just encouraging affirmations, words, things like you've got this, keep going. You're, you you want to be celebrating people on their journeys. Like maybe you can have like a specific category that talks about people who have overcome, um, or people that need encouragement, like I'm thinking outside of the box, but basically things that you can add into that bakery or that cafe that is like an additional service that you can add, and just like, yes, blending it all in together. So that's just like a way that I was thinking that you could have, people are going to want their happy birthdays, they're going to want their wedding stuff, they're going to want graduation and all this and that. But another thing that you can offer, or what you could do, even if you don't want to go that route, you could just do discounts for people. Like if, like, no questions asked, if you are struggling, um 10% discount, like if you have like a mental health journey that you're fighting, 10% discount. And that doesn't necessarily have to be something that can be advertised, but that can be word of mouth, something that um that will get around eventually to people. And you can just be like, if you're having a bad day, come get an ice cream on me or something, like, I mean, you'd have to like make this make sense for a business, obviously, because you need to make money. But I'm just trying to think of like different things you could do to incorporate that. um but yeah, so I really feel like I'm making sense, but I feel like I also just talked in a million circles just now. But for financial, okay, you need some kind of licensing. You need some kind of certifications in order to make more money doing this. This can't be a bakery cafe thing that's happening out, from your kitchen. That's not going to be the way that you're making money. You would have to dive deep into this, like head first. And it might be worth like shadowing someone in a bakery just to kind of see, hey, like this is something I'm interested in doing in my career. um would you be interested in letting me shadow you for a day, just so I can kind of see what all is involved with this, etc., etc. It could be like a food truck but a bakery version. That might be easier for you. It's not quite, out your kitchen. um, some stuff might have to be for a little while, and until you can actually have like a brick and mortar store. But maybe like to sell stuff, it could be out of a food truck just to kind of get you off your feet. But like it has to be something bigger than just like a hobby, and in order for you to be making more money. Now this could be extra income for you, but you would still have to have the current job that you have. So if you're looking for something that's more like takes over your income, not just supplements it, not just adds to it, but something that's completely replacing your income, you'll have to think bigger. Something that's more than a hobby. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like, you could do like birthday parties with like a little bakery truck, or a bakery cart. You could, maybe that could be the incorporating the kids into it, and making their day and making them smile, and like basically be, renting out, your truck for a couple of hours or something like that and doing like birthday parties with like cupcakes and things. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do to make it your own. Um and I think you should just kind of pick what is calling to you specifically. Cuz I think Amy, what's going to make you feel better about yourself and better about your life is really kind of challenging yourself to do something out of the box and making other people smile. I think that's what's gonna kind of, because I feel like that's what you enjoy about your current job. You know, you enjoy that you feel like you're making a difference and that you're helping other people. And so like as long as you feel like you're helping other people and making a difference, I think no matter what you end up doing is going to be fulfilling for you. So you just have to figure out what would be the most fun, you know? What would be like the most enjoyable thing to do every single day. And if baking is that for you, then I go down that route. The world needs more cupcakes and cookies, you know? So what's funny as you say about shirts is because I was imagining a brick and mortar bakery and I was imagining a merch section with like shirts that you would sell in addition to like the desserts as well, which is kind of funny. And you could do like mental health stuff. Yes, this is exactly what I was thinking because I was like, you like to draw, you could actually use your own art to make those things, make merch. You can make buttons to go on your purse, you can make shirts, you can make socks, you can make coasters, things like that. So maybe the bakery side of it doesn't necessarily have to do with that, but maybe it can just be more of like a merch section of your store, you know? But I feel like all of these things are kind of swirling around you right now. And I think it's a matter of really sitting down and figuring out what direction you want to go with it. And like, you could also, another way that you could help people with their mental health is if you have a merch section of your store, you could even do a shop local situation. So, for example, my brother, his coffee shop, he has like a local business section where people will come in and present what they have to sell and be like, would you guys be willing to carry this in your store for me? And they're like, "Yeah, sure." So there's like a lot of like people, some people make keychains, some people make candles, whatever, whatever, and they actually sell those in their coffee shop. Now, the connection to the mental health thing is that you could reach out to people who craft for their mental health. Like there may be people who like to crochet because it helps their mental health, and then maybe you can help that person bring in more business for themselves by selling some of the items at your store and bringing awareness to that so that way they can keep doing what they love and keep doing things that help them with their mental health. And then also you're selling them in your stores, so you're also helping this person make a profit. So, like that's another way you can help someone. So it's like there's so many different things that you can do. Really, you can make desserts about it, you can make shirts about it, you can give discounts for it, you can help shop local businesses in your store. Like the opportunities are endless and I feel like you're going to get inspired by those things for sure. And maybe this idea you're kind of brainstorming, but maybe this idea will kind of evolve onto its own, and maybe certain things will just kind of fall into your lap as well. Yeah, and you can make stickers. You could literally sell stickers, bumper stickers. Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that it gets you excited and looking forward to what could potentially be. And if you're feeling stuck where you're at right now, then maybe this can give you something to kind of look forward to. But yeah, you're very welcome. Because yeah, I don't see you staying in this job forever. I actually see you moving out. um, so I think there's one more job between this one and your final destination. The next job that you have, I think, is basically like increases your income to afford your ability to move out of your house. And maybe you can even go to school or take some classes or something um at night or whatever, like when you're not working. Um, but I think like the next step for you needs to be getting out into your own place because I think that's going to clear your energy a lot better being like in your own space. And then I think you go from there and be able to branch off into other things once you feel stable. Ah, well, that's what the life purpose deck is for. It's to help understand like what one of your purposes is or your main purpose is on this earth. And sometimes, a lot of the times, actually, we're given a hardship so that we can share our story with other people and help other people. And it ends up turning into a blessing, you know? Well, enjoy time with your cousin. Yeah, you need to get out of there. Spend some time with family, different family. Okay. You have a good night. You're very welcome. Sleep tight. See you later. Hey Tanya, how are you? I just got it. It looks like you wanted an in-depth reading. Sounds good. Did you have a specific question you wanted to ask, or were you looking for a love spread? Oh my gosh. Okay, glad to hear it. Well, let's take a look into how this weekend will be for you. Hmm. Um, it seems like there's a shift that happens this weekend. If I can be honest, I'm getting a lot of like kind of challenging or difficult cards. I don't know if there's anything you're expecting or planning to happen this weekend that maybe you're curious about how it's going to go. But the Ten of Swords can kind of indicate feeling like, well, there's a couple interpretations. So the Ten of Swords can indicate an ending. It could just indicate that this is a weekend of transitioning into like a new phase of life or transitional energy because like I said, it feels like there's a shift happening this weekend, and especially with the death card here, this kind of indicates like a rebirth, like a time for a rebirth, a time for endings and new beginnings. Um, when I see this card next to the Five of Wands, it can indicate that there might be some conflict or difficulty with another person or other people. And again, when you are getting a tarot reading and you want to avoid that kind of energy, you can always try to influence it to not actually happen. So, for example, if you're planning on going out this weekend, and you're like, I don't really want to get into an altercation with someone else, maybe it would be best to just stay home and see if you can find a way to avoid that. Um, or if, like, maybe you just take some time to yourself, for example. But of course, this challenging aspect may just be something that needs to happen. Um, I have the Eight of Swords, which can feel like restriction. It can feel like Nine of Swords, like anxiety, insomnia, maybe this weekend having trouble sleeping potentially. And just like honestly, just like carrying something with you into the weekend or having some kind of like hardship or burden or sacrifice or something along those lines. Like these cards aren't really necessarily great. And sometimes the Ten of Swords can indicate like betrayal, and I saw that with the Seven of Swords almost trying to come out as well. But the Seven of Swords can also talk about just needing to be kind of alone or by yourself. So the advice that I have is that depending on what you had planned or depending on what you were going to do, if there was any plans at all. I think that I would just recommend staying home this weekend. If this was a reading that I pulled for myself and I had plans, I'd probably think maybe it's best to kind of just stick to myself for a little while. Um, and maybe just like self reflect and release and just try to like get into maybe like a better headspace, maybe do some cleaning, some decluttering. Just like this weekend can be like the energy or the essence of needing to release. So like I said, I'm not sure if there was something specific that you had planned. But like it feels almost and generals are so frustrating because they're a little bit vague, so I really do apologize for this, but sometimes like you may want to have an altercation. If there's something you've been needing to get off your chest, because remember I said it's the weekend of releasing, you may want to get into an altercation. You may want to speak your mind. You may want to get something off your chest if something's going on like that. So maybe this is something that needs to happen. Um, but it's definitely an energy of release. It's an energy of endings and beginnings and starting a new rebirth, um, transitions. We also have the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Swords. So this is like kind of like balancing act between your head and your heart and trying to find the balance there. There could be some emotions that come up this weekend for you that you're trying to rationalize. Um I think that once you get past this weekend, you start to feel a lot better. I do have the 9 of Cups here. Maybe some rest would be required, some rest and relaxation after this weekend. But the 9 of Cups indicates things working out in your favor, regardless of what happens. It indicates like luck on your side and wishes fulfilled. Um, but I think that's something that happens like maybe Sunday evening or like into the following week if it's going to happen. There could be some socializing potentially depending on what route you take here. Definitely a shift. Something feels different after this weekend is what I'm getting with this reading. Do you have any thoughts on this? If there's anything you want to elaborate on at all, or anything I said that you need clarified, let me know. I love to give more positive, hopeful readings, but I also can't change what the cards say. So I'm just trying to find interpretations of what could, be happening this weekend. He said, I feel like I know what this is about. I've been thinking about breaking things off with the guy I'm talking to. Oh, that actually makes so much sense. Yeah, there seems to be like inner conflict here as well with the Nine of Swords that indicates like the expression is losing sleep. Like when people say don't lose sleep over something, it can mean literally don't lie awake at night thinking about this. But at the same time, it could just indicate something that's kind of just been on your mind a lot. And it's something that might make it difficult for you to kind of relax. Um, it could bring like a heightened sense of like inner conflict, and sometimes it can literally mean this decision is keeping you up at night, you know. um it can just mean that there's maybe some anxiety or some nervousness surrounding this decision. Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right move for me? Is this what I need to do? Should I give it more time? um the Nine of Swords is kind of like this, your mind is kind of overworking itself, you know, overthinking. So, that makes a lot of sense actually. You're not in a good headspace for a relationship. You really wanted a relationship, but now you feel drained. That makes sense. Maybe the Seven of Swords betrayal I saw was maybe, or Ten of Swords is like maybe how he's going to feel or how she's going to feel. I'm sorry. Oh, you said it's a guy you're talking to. Yeah, maybe that's like how he's going to feel. He's going to feel like his hands are tied and that like you kind of just like hurt him and ran off. But at the same time, you kind of have to do what you got to do. Um, so yeah, this feeling of like release and shedding the old and starting anew, this shift that's happening this weekend and things feeling like you got what you wanted next week, like you feel better about it all. Battling between your head and your heart. Wow, carrying a burden, ten of wands, carrying a burden. Wow, okay, like this really is making a lot of sense now, the things I was saying. Um yeah, maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time to let it go. I was supposed to see him tonight, but I ended up rescheduling for tomorrow. Looks like I'm probably canceling that too. Thank you so much. I'm about to send another payment. Okay, that sounds good. You're welcome. Hey. All right, I got it. It just came through. And what can I do for you this time? You're curious about next week. All right, well, if you stay the course and you do break things off with him, um, it's looking like next week feels a lot lighter for you. Did you have a specific question about next week, or do you want me to just see what the energies are showing up, like another general? Yeah, perfect. We can do that. Okay. Let's see. So things feel like relief for you, a little bit of pressure taken off. I would be lying if I didn't say that you weren't a little bit sad about this situation, a little bit sad that it didn't work out. Um, but overall, that's like a small percentage. Overall, it feels like you're just very happy that you trusted your intuition. The high priestess is here talking like you followed your inner knowing. You just knew that this was what was best for you at this time. Um, you feel like you're progressing, like you feel like you're taking the next step. Because I have the Four of Wands and this talks about taking the next step. Typically in a relationship, but maybe it's the relationship with yourself. Just trusting that what you're feeling is what needs to happen, or what you're feeling is what's best for you right now. I really feel like with him, you want to make this as easy as possible and like as gentle and sensitive as possible due to the situation, because maybe you're feeling a little bit like I wish I could have made this work, and like I feel like you don't really necessarily want to hurt this guy. um but at the same time, I do feel like for him, this is like not amazing news. Okay. So I feel like it's just a little bit of tinge of sadness next week, just because it's like, you're disappointed. Um, really wanted to make this work, but it's just something's just not clicking. But overall, there's like this feeling of relief, this feeling of like, I got away. Next week, you might be feeling a little bit more of a pep in your step. Um, I think you'll know next week too that this isn't over for you. Like, you will have a relationship at some point when you feel in a better headspace, or like in just like a better place to have that kind of relationship, if that makes sense. um I think even there might be some inspiration that comes into you next week, a little bit more of a refocus and a recentering on what you really want to put your energy into, and where you really want to put your intentions on, which might be yourself, it might be a hobby, it might be the place that you live, it might be your friends, your family, something along those lines. But it's almost like you feel a little bit more like, okay, now I can kind of get back to what feels more of a priority to me. And, the Six of Swords talks about like a regretful but rite of passage, something that needs to happen. So while it may be regretful that this has come to this weekend, it's still something that needed to happen. And in the end that it was the right call for you. You know that it was the right thing to do. Pages and Knights aren't here, which means that there's kind of like this feeling of not 100% starting over, but just kind of getting a fresh start, I guess. Um, the Eight of Wands is making an appearance again. I think so for some reason I feel like something happens like Saturday or Sunday morning. I feel like by like Sunday night a decision is made here. So that's why I was thinking like the 9 of cups was like wish fulfillment, like you get what you wanted in the end. That comes like later Sunday night or into like Monday. And then the rest of the week just feels a little bit more free. Um and almost like the sense of like, okay, I that was chaotic and that was not ideal, but somehow I made it through. Somehow I was able to potentially calm the storm a little bit. I will say from his perspective, he might come to terms with what you're saying and just accept it, even if he has his own feelings about it. But I think it's very possible, Tanya, that he may try to come back around at some point. Like if you cut this off, he may try to see, okay, well, I'll give her some space for a little bit. Maybe try to test the waters again later. Um, that's just kind of a small message that's coming through right now. I just wanted you to know that. That doesn't necessarily have to do with next week per se, but he's definitely feeling like he doesn't get the closure that he's looking for here. And it's not going to come as a surprise to him just because there's some actions that like subtleties that you have, like this energy you've been giving off to him, that is he's kind of starting to think like, is she not interested in this anymore? um so it's not necessarily going to be a shock to him because I think he's kind of been picking up these signals a little bit. um but I think he's still going to feel a bit blindsided, if I can be honest, and he might even say like, where is this coming from? And he might feel a little confused, and you're just going to have to work with him through that. And I think that's why next week feels like a little bit like regretful, but at the same time, this is what had to happen. um and I think next week, like, there's a lot of self-reflection, a lot of time that you're spending on your own, and again, like reorganizing or readjusting where your priorities lie and what it is that you really need to be focusing on now that you like pulled the trigger on this. So that is what I have. Let me know if you have any questions about this. Makes sense. Yesterday kind of sealed the deal for me. I realized he's kind of selfish, which would make sense why he's probably sensing a little bit of like a shift in energy from you, but maybe why he's still going to be kind of oblivious, because if he is a selfish person, like he's probably more focused on what he wants and what his needs are. And I think in the situation where you're at right now, you are going to need more from someone if you're going to try to make an effort like this. Um, you were not being very subtle when you caught the ick, yeah. But like I said, if he's self-absorbed, it's like he might have noticed this shift from you. There might have been certain things that he's kind of like, that's different. But I still think that when you're focused on yourself, sometimes the things that other people do can completely catch you off guard because you've been focused on yourself. So it's like this isn't going to be a shock to him in the sense that, like you said, you've been pretty obvious with how you've been feeling lately. It's just when someone's self-centered, they're not always going to pick up on everything you're putting out there, you know? Here's what I will say. He will live. He will be fine. It's maybe an uncomfortable situation, but he will be okay. All right? So like you need to do what's best for you right now, and I think you end up doing it. And I hope you come back next week and give me an update on how things are going for you. That's real. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Tanya. Thank you for your contributions to my channel tonight. I know you can get readings from anyone, so I do appreciate you coming here. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night.